to The Truth in This Art, your go-to source for conversations at the intersection of arts, culture, and community. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today we'll be discussing the BRUSH Mural Fest Celebration at the Baltimore Convention Center, the premier venue for conventions in the Mid-Atlantic. We'll explore how the festival highlights local talent and the arts community. So please join me in welcoming back Jaz Ehrenberg, along with BRUSH co-founder Saba Hamidi and Mac Campbell, the executive director of the Baltimore Convention Center. Welcome you all to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm, really jazzed to talk to you, like irony, but really jazzed to talk to you guys. And, it's sort of like highlighting events in and around the community. So it definitely connects with what's within the ethos of what I do on this podcast. It's arts, culture, community. And this is literally all three of those elements. So, if you will, could you both introduce yourselves, and then tell us like how you guys came together to like build out BRUSH and create sort of this community, this entity, and all of that great stuff there. So we can start with you, Jaz.
So my name is Jaz Erenberg. I'm a local Baltimore community artist and muralist. I specialize in community engaged public artwork projects. My background is in teaching. I used to be an art teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools, so a lot of my community organizing comes sort of from that realm. And I have the pleasure of managing and running this festival with my wonderful friend Saba Hamidi.
Thanks, Jaz. As you can tell, we look like each other and we like to dress like each other because everyone always confuses us, and we've recently decided to lean into it and really mess with people and dress the same everywhere we go. So I'm Saba, not Jaz. I am also a Baltimore-based muralist. I call myself a visual storyteller. In addition to murals, I do illustrations and graphic design, and I like to use my art to try to convey possibly complex information in fun and colorful and joyful ways. My background is actually in landscape architecture. That's actually what brought me to Baltimore. I had a degree in landscape architecture. I worked in that field for about 7 years, and then decided that I wanted to run off and do my own thing. I actually did my first mural in the office where I was a landscape architect without even knowing that I would be interested in it, and it totally shifted my path in life and has brought me here, and it's connected me with wonderful people like Jaz, and we get to do cool things like BRUSH Mural Fest and be on this podcast.
Just all of the things. I love it. And also I love the subtle trolling. It's like we're confused with each other sometimes. Like there's a video podcast out there, right, where me and Baltimore-based artist Quirky, we're both sitting there, and it's like we're doing a Spider-Man thing where we're pointing at each other because we were both at a show, and one of the people he was working with was like, you two just look alike, right? And Quirky's like, Rob is 6'4", I'm 5'9". We don't look alike. So it's funny to play in it. I enjoy that as well. I'm a troll. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So, going back into BRUSH. So tell like folks who are undipped what BRUSH is, and sort of let's talk about the mission a bit, because I see some things that really, warm me up, but I definitely want to hear it from the two of you. So if you will, Saba, could you speak on sort of the mission and sort of what BRUSH is?
Yeah, absolutely. So BRUSH is Baltimore's hyper-local mural festival. It is created for artists by artists. So that's sort of our tagline. And it's a mural festival. Hi, Mac. It's a mural festival that really wants to highlight the talent that already exists within Baltimore City. So a couple of years ago, myself, Jaz, and our third co-founder, Jess Langley, who's also another local muralist, came up with this idea of wanting to put together a mural festival that is everything that other festivals are not. It was sort of, in some ways, a response to our experience of other festivals. And a lot of times what we were faced with were these huge festivals that were open to anyone and everyone from around the country, sometimes around the world. And then people would get accepted and come in and paint a mural in a city that they are not from and they're not connected to in any way.
Sure.
They would leave their mark and then they would just leave. And so we felt like there was a little bit of disconnect there, and we thought that to us it makes more sense that if a city is going to be beautified, why not be beautified by the talent that's already existing there? So we were like, let's take things into our own hands and put together this mural festival. We know there was another mural festival something like a decade ago, but nothing had been done like it since then. So we wanted to take an opportunity to do something different. And then also another thing we realized about most other festivals is you a lot of times need to have a certain amount of experience before you can qualify as a muralist. But then if you don't have the experience and you can't get involved, then how do you get that experience? This is also a lot of times true about clients. They may not want to work with you if you haven't had experience before. And so we wanted to create a platform that actually provides that opportunity for emerging artists to start to get some of that experience so that they can become a part of the sort of the greater landscape. And so we created a mentorship program, which we can talk a little bit more about later, but we specifically created a mentorship program that allows emerging artists to also be included. So those were sort of the two main parts of it. And then we kind of worked together and brought in different community members to support us to kick off the event. Last year, we also had a week of free and public events that happen leading up to the festival. It's a big thing. It's a lot to all explain all at once. I'm trying to give you the overview, so maybe I'll pause there and then we can dig into the little pieces later.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And that's great. I love when there's these sort of opportunities where it's like, yeah, we see this. This might be something, but it's kind of like it's falling short, and it's falling short or doesn't really serve. It's not serving the way that it could serve. So I'm very much of that same mindset. It's like I'll just do it myself, and I'll do it with my friends, and I'll do it with people that I dig and respect. And also shout out to Jess, who's also been on this podcast. It's like, look, it's like everybody is. So that's really cool, and I love hearing that and getting that sort of connective tissue. But before I move into that next question, Jaz, did you have anything you wanted to add to that piece right there?
No, I think she covered it. Yeah.
I'm trying to just
For that question.
So, and I guess it's the second part of it. If there's any other points on it, the pillars, I think it's really important to have that sort of direction. I touched on, I guess, the three that I approached these interviews with, right? Arts, culture, and community. It's not, hey, let's just get into the minutia of this arts and trying to show those connective pieces there. So going into building our brush and thinking about like really what is the intent and how are we going to like achieve that. When did the pillars like come to mind? Like speak a bit about that, sort of those individual items. I see like 4 or 5 of them when I'm on the site, or maybe it's 3 or 4 of them when I'm on the site that really stick out. When did that come together? Was it like a conversation over coffee? Was it like, all right, pull out your notepad. What are these things missing? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think maybe July 2022, we all met at Saba's office and just planned a whole afternoon of let's just talk through all of the ideas. We had all separately run our own creative businesses, and so we've run into this and had experiences with mural festivals from our own perspectives. And I think it was really important for us to come together and just sort of share all of those and see where things landed. I also think what's important to the co-founders made it into those pillars. So me being of the education world and Jess as well with her creative sort of business training or coaching that she does. Really, we were really interested in sort of bridging that gap of experience between emerging muralists and professional muralists. And I think from all of our perspectives as far as what working in the public space in Baltimore looks like. We've all worked with alongside communities in collaborative ways to create public art projects that are a lot more accepted and sort of woven into the fabric of the city, as opposed to people who come out from different areas to come paint our city. I just think there's the way that community receives these projects is very different when they've been part of the conversation to begin with.
Thank you. That's a really, really good point. And I see over the last few years, especially in that area, which is, that downtown area where, this year BRUSH's celebration is going to be at the Baltimore Convention Center, which is a ham-fisted segue, but a segue nonetheless, where I see more of these attempts, especially in that area where it's a lot of tourism, a lot of traffic, a lot of folks that are around that can see like work and engage with artists. We have like Baltimore by Baltimore, for instance, is that need and that desire to see like, is this reflective of the city? Is it reflective of the folks that it's serving? And seeing more and more folks, even at this past Artscape, right? I was involved, and I'm like, oh, they reached out to Rob Lee, and seeing folks that I've interviewed and being able to interview them after them really doing their thing, like you guys got off a stage and now we're talking. So seeing sort of that representation in addition to so as far as what they do, but in addition to sort of what that brand and that type of event is, but seeing more and more of our influence locally, that's really cool. And I like that that's being served. So to the other side of my hand-fisted segue, Mac, how are you?
Thank you, Rob, for having me. I'm good. I'm happy to be included in a conversation like this, because I am not creative or artistic and don't know what my qualifications are for being on.
You're creative, Mac. You're definitely creative. Maybe not in a painting way, but you.
I'll take it. I'm a big idea guy. How about that?
There you go.
See, we like ideas here, and I'm an idea guy as well. So we'll definitely dive into that a little bit. But if you will, could you introduce yourself to like the folks who are unfamiliar with you, and share a bit about like sort of how all of this came together and being in that space is sort of quote unquote on the venue side of this conversation.
Sure. So my name is Mac Campbell. I'm the executive director of the Baltimore Convention Center. I have been here as the executive director since last January, so I'm still kind of new, but I guess I'm not going to be able to use that for much longer. But been around the convention center in different capacities since 2012. I was a music corporate communications double major in college, so art has always been something in my DNA, just more on the musical side. I come from a nonprofit arts background. When I haven't been at the convention center, I worked for Strathmore in Bethesda, which is a multidisciplinary arts nonprofit. So when I came to the convention center as ED, I was faced with, well, this is yours now. What are we gonna do to differentiate? And I think when you're looking at convention space across the country, one ballroom could be any ballroom. You could be in Duluth, you could be in LA, you could be in Baltimore. Sure. How are we separating ourselves as a destination that appeals to the most amount of people possible? We know we don't have a new building. We're working on that, but that could take years. We know we're going through this front end of a renaissance of downtown. So meanwhile, it's not as vibrant downtown as we know it will be in short order, or has been in the past. So how are we telling our story? And I think it's our responsibility at the convention center to create an opportunity for those conventioneers that get off a plane, get on the light rail, go to the Hilton, come across our sky bridge, go to their sessions, go back to the Hilton, go back to the light rail, go back to the airport and leave. To be left with an impression of what Baltimore is, so that we can hopefully have them proselytize hey, that place was cool, no matter how much they saw of it, because we gave them a little taste. Alternatively, or additionally, it would incentivize them to say, oh, there's more to this than just a generic older convention center. We should come back. We should come back with our families. Huh. Maybe I consider applying for a job and moving to, right? So it's a multi-layered approach, and yeah, it's not exactly a direct straight line to somebody moving their family to Baltimore, but it's certainly something that I feel we should be teeing up, being the biggest building downtown, to try to just spread the warm and fuzzies, and how better to do that than through public art. So since I've been back, we've been really kind of figuring out how we most impact that space in an authentic way. So it's not me picking art. It's folks like Jaz and Saba leading the way, and working very closely with the mayor's office, with Tanya Miller Hall, to make sure that everything we do is done with a certain amount of curatorial intention, and then let the pros make recommendations for us.
That's great, and it's, the convention center is one of my favorite spaces downtown, and I think it's one of those places that is like, oh, okay, yeah, there are cool things that are here, and seeing like the idea of BRUSH. This is the second year of BRUSH, right, as far as the festival is concerned. So, just early on, and now it's like within that DNA. It's just like, yeah, we're here now. This is another item to add on the calendar, so that's really cool. So for you, Mac, and I'm definitely want to talk about this other thing about sort of the program. I want to talk about that in a bit, the mentorship program. But for you, Mac, when that initial like conversation of sort of what the vision for this year looks like, how was that, and like, what was that conversation like, and any thoughts on that as far as like leading up, because we're a couple days away.
You mean the genesis of BRUSH at the convention center?
Oh, yes.
So I don't know what the right word is, but I kind of like fanboy Jaz a little bit, right? Like, Jaz and I were both confirmed to various mayoralities right around the same time. So when I was watching Charm TV and all of the things, I saw Jaz being added to the Public Art Commission. And I was like, well, what's a Public Art Commission? How does it work? And how can I hijack it to help get my ambition of having the largest collection of art on and around the convention center, the biggest collection in the city. And so I reached out to her because she started pumping out stuff on BRUSH year one.
Yeah.
And the initial conversation kind of went like, yeah, no, maybe next year, maybe next year. And I said, well, how can I get a yes next year? And I think it just led to some conversation about what we're trying to do in a truly, like, there's no angle here. We literally just we want to do cool stuff. I don't know if I can cuss on the podcast, but there's an affirmation of getting S done. And I've added the word cool to it, right? And Jaz and Saba are definitely the cool. So from there, it was just a matter of, okay, well, Mac, what do you want from us? And I said, honestly, like, and I hope you guys agree with this, I mean, nothing really. I want you to do you. I had some preferences on where on the building I wanted it. But other than making sure that the images being depicted weren't going to be something that was going to get us in the bad kind of newspaper, I had no curatorial say on what was being done. Like, I trusted these two, just like I trusted Gaia to lead the Jesse Katie installation we had earlier this year. And so from there, I think they did all the hard work. I'm just lending the wall. Our team is helping promote how we can. It's obviously something that Pratt Street so desperately needs is that shot of color, that shot of vibrancy, that new thing. Oh, I haven't driven downtown for a couple of years, couple of months, what have you. Oh, that wasn't there before. There hasn't been a lot of that recently, right? Mm-hmm. Short of a tall ship import, like what breaks up the way it's always been.
Yeah.
And in the short term, something like BRUSH Mural Festival does just that.
Thank you. That's great. I love hearing that. And I love hearing when it's that opportunity to, for lack of a better term, let the artist cook. Let them do their thing. So I want to move into a few more items, definitely talking about this year's celebration. Before we get to that, I want to ask about the mentorship program a bit more. And, you know, the mentorship program through Brush supports both professional artists and like rising stars, emerging artists. So like, how does this initiative, and this is for either Saba or Jaz, how does this initiative like foster growth in like the local arts community, and what stories of like impact could you like speak on? Granted, it's, you know, year two and all, but, you know, coming from this background, I'll share this to, you know, kind of aid in it. In the last year, I've been able to do some education stuff. I'm literally Professor Rob now. I've, you know, worked at a few places in the last year, and seeing sort of, you know, and specifically on podcasting, and seeing sort of like young folks who are interested in podcasts, not sure how to get in, and being able to help them along that journey and in that path. And even outside of the class, now being a mentor to several of these podcasters, it's a good feeling, but it's definitely identifying sort of this, you know, sort of like lack in this need, but this curiosity. And I'm almost thinking of maybe I should do a podcast mentorship program. So, you know, speak on Brush's mentorship program a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the mentorship program, I have to say, is the part of Brush that honestly we're most proud of. Maybe it goes hand in hand with the fact that it's exclusively Baltimore City only, but the mentorship program specifically is really important to us, partially because of what I mentioned earlier, which is that a lot of times there's this barrier to entry if you don't have experience, and you can't get the experience if people don't give you the opportunity. So it's sort of this ongoing circle that we wanted to this cycle that we wanted to break, and also knowing that this is true for myself, for Jaz, for Jess, for most of our other muralist friends, that a lot of us learn everything we know about this profession from each other, by working with one another, by talking to one another, by following each other on Instagram, asking questions. You know, there isn't a degree program in mural painting in any colleges, so nobody really comes in having all the info down already. So we've all gotten to where we are through, you know, help from our peers, and so we really wanted to lean on that, and create this program where we give specifically the experience of painting murals. So not particularly the design part of it. Obviously, painting a mural is a multi-layered sort of process, and we wanted to focus on the painting part. And so the way we did that was, and we did this last year and again this year. Last year's sort of process was a little bit different, where we invited 5 what we call pro muralists. And for us, a pro is defined as somebody who has X number of exterior murals painted. They have worked with other artists before, and particularly this year, we really highlighted the qualification that they must have hired people before, so they must know how to manage an emerging artist or just another artist and sort of manage a project from that standpoint. So last year we invited those pro muralists, and then we put out an open call for emerging artists, which we call rising stars. And the definition for a rising star is an artist who is interested in painting murals and is interested in it in sort of a career pathway. So not somebody who wants to do murals as a hobby, but somebody who really wants to get into the business of being a muralist. And that's sort of the minimum requirement. They did not have to have any murals painted in the past before. We have some rising stars who've painted a couple before, some who've done a lot, and some who've done none. But it was and is an application process where they answer some questions and then do show us some of their creative work, whether it's studio work or any sort of scale, so that we could see what kind of skill set they have. So last year, you know, the rising stars applied. We had a panel review their applications. We chose 4 of them. We we matched them up with the four pro muralists that we had hand selected. This year, obviously year two, we wanted to do things bigger and better, and being lucky enough to get matched up with Mac in the convention center, we knew we had the opportunity to do more walls, more murals. So we went with 10. And this time we actually decided to have an application process for all artists. So we had pro muralists apply and emerging artists apply, same sort of review panel, went through all the applications, and we chose 9 pros and 9 rising stars. And then we matched them together internally based on their style of work and how we thought they might sort of benefit from working with one another. And the mentorship program itself involves, we provide some guidelines to the pro artists in terms of what kind of stuff we want them to be talking to their rising star about, but we also give them a lot of flexibility and freedom to sort of teach them the things that they thought is most important to them or to an emerging artist. So that includes everything from just having initial conversations, talking to them about the design process if they want to, and then explaining sort of all the ins and outs of like, what does it take to plan painting a mural? What kind of equipment and tools do you need to have? How do you pick your paint? How do you decide, which part of it you're going to do first? All sorts of stuff. Yeah. And then in addition to sort of giving the pros their freedom to explain things the way that they want to, we also provided a list of resources to the rising stars and the pros that includes everything from materials list, contract templates, how to price your murals, all sorts of stuff that, again, all of us have learned over the years through working with one another. So really a super valuable a toolkit for these rising stars. Honestly, that we were able to, and this is in working with each other, working with Jess, who provided a lot of information from her business coaching material. We're able to give these rising stars all this content that took us years to collect, and they're getting it all in one sort of PDF with all these links. So, and since everybody got matched up a couple months ago and they've all been working together, they're out there right now painting together. It has been so beautiful to watch these partnerships together. It's been so cool. We just recently learned that we have one rising star who found out about BRUSH last year by speaking to another rising star last year, and that person told them about how great it was, and this new artist was like, I'm going to make it a point to apply and get into this next year, and she did, and she's a part of it, and so thankful. And it's just it's checking all the boxes that we wanted in terms of providing resources and tools and education to these new artists, but as an added bonus for us, it's creating this lovely community of artists who are like magically getting along perfectly. All the partnerships were like awesome. They all love each other. They're having fun. Like we had a meet and greet event last week, and they were all joking around, playing. You would think they've known each other forever. And so it's been really, really rewarding to see this community being built on top of new artists learning from past artists. And our hope is that our rising stars go on to continue to paint more murals and then come back in a couple of years from now and be eligible to reapply as pros, and then be able to sort of return the favor to future rising stars, and that this goes on for a very long time, hopefully.
Wow. Thank you. I love that. I love that it's working. That's the way I'll just put it. It's working. And I like that you touched on everyone's getting along. Everyone loves each other. Because I was waiting for so can I get a camera, right? And like a reality show back in the day. This is where it starts to get real. And it's just paint being thrown at the screen. It'd be great. It'd be wonderful. Just want that to happen. Look, production company, I don't know what to tell you. So I want to move into this last portion, sort of like, the celebration that's approaching. This is, it's been busy, as you've touched on a little bit before we got started, and sort of events last week, events throughout, so let's talk about September 14th. What can folks expect at the event? What's the atmosphere you're hoping to create? There's a mix. You have art, you have sort of these cultural components. So give us the rundown of what to expect on September 14th.
Yeah, so this Saturday, September 14th, is what we're calling our Brush Celebration Day. And I just picture like a really hoppin' block party. That's what we're going for. So we'll have live music acts. Some of our performers are Bari Lutalo, Tavier Dominique and DJ Blackstar. We also have a really exciting live painting art competition happening on stage that's going to be emceed by Brian from Black Genius Art Show. So we're really trying to add all these different sort of components, different ways of interacting with the art. Um, and and I think our main thing is really just like having all the muralists be there with their work. It's not often that you happen upon muralists working in the middle of a project, and if they do have a mural unveiling, you probably weren't invited. So you're invited to this one.
That's great. It's funny because I think it was very rare. Like I think the last time I saw you, Jazz, you were maybe painting over there for like maybe what is it, royal blue, and I think you were on like
Yeah.
the top. I was like, hey, Jazz. I was like, all right, lower it down. You don't want her to fall or something like that. But you're right where you never see it. It's just at least I haven't. The work is just up, and you're like, hey, I want to talk to the person, especially for what I do, like Saba. I want to talk to the person, like, hey, wow, this work is great, but being able to have that opportunity to be in community, to see people with their work, and that's just great. So it's really dope.
Yeah, that's one thing that we're particularly excited about this year was having the ability to have all of the murals at the same site as the celebration. Last year being year one, we didn't have that opportunity. We only had like a couple of the murals being at the site of the celebration, and the rest were sort of spread out throughout the city, which is cool in its own way. But we missed out on the opportunity of having everybody that's at the celebration seeing everything at once.
Yeah.
But this year, the celebration block hits the walkway where all the murals are. So it's literally all in the same place. All of the artists are going to be there. There's going to be a moment throughout the day where we actually encourage everybody to go walk down all the walls and look at the art and hopefully get a chance to talk to the artists about their work. And actually, one thing we didn't talk about is the theme for our festival this year, which I think is really fun. That again, you'll get to see in all the murals, and it's hidden gems. That's the theme that we gave all the artists, and of course, we wanted them to interpret that as freely as they could. But serendipitously, everyone has responded to it in their way of like they've chosen one thing that is a hidden gem about Baltimore City to them, and has beautifully and creatively I've visualized it in a mural, and each one is so different and they're super cool, and we won't tell you any more about that so that you have a reason to come out and see them yourself.
You look, I like teasers. That's good. So that's kind of, and we'll definitely we'll touch on it one more time when we do sort of the shameless plugs after this segment, this rapid fire segment, because I got to do the rapid fire. I can't help myself. Try to stop, but I can't. All right. So I got rapid fire questions. I'm just, they're for everybody, but they're quick questions, they're quick answers that are needed. So if you're all ready, we can go into these rapid fire questions. So here's the first one. Everyone's been super busy. Everyone's got, a million things that they're doing. And I think it's important to make sure that you're properly nourished. So what is your go-to comfort food when you have like, I didn't put these hours in, I got paint on me, I'm doing all of these different things. What is the go-to comfort food, Jazz?
It's a fried chicken sandwich for me.
You get it.
Yeah.
Right down the line, Saba, please.
For me, it's going to be a meal from the closest and only Persian restaurant I can find in Baltimore City. It's called Moby Dick, which is not a Persian name at all. But I order, it's like rice and grilled meats and tomatoes, and it's hits every time.
I'm keeping a dossier. Mac, please. What do you got?
Guilty pleasure, Chipotle burrito bowl, double meat, double chips, double hot salsa.
Ooh, nice.
I was just gonna say, like, look, I just want some pistachios, unsalted pistachios. You're actually talking real food. I mean, Persian food. What are we doing here? I'm
I was gonna say watermelon, but then you said comfort food, and I was like, I got to get a little more specific.
Okay, we're going to start back from the bottom to the top. I got two more of these. Mac, if you will, could you describe your work in one word?
Ever changing.
Saba.
Oh God. Uh,
I like how Jazz just has time to what did I say in the previous
okay,
interview?
this is what the first word that came into my head. I don't know what this means, but I'm gonna say psychedelic.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. For me, it would be vibrant.
These track. All right, we're starting with Jazz, and we're going back down. This is the last one. It might be a little on the nose, but serendipitously hidden gems. What is one public space like in Baltimore that you would love to see more art at, a mural at, something along those lines? That's just like this could use some color. This could use some vibrancy, some psychedelicism. That's not a word, but talk.
I mean, first answer is everywhere. That's what we do. If it has a wall, we will paint it. But I think also I would love to see Old Town Mall come back and be a vibrant place again. Not that I was able to see it be a vibrant place, but I've seen photos and I've heard stories, and so I would really love to see that come back.
That's a good pull. I lived directly across the street from there as a kid. Saba?
Oh man, this is hard because I mean, like Jazz said, everywhere. And like I've noticed, this is not a quick answer, sorry. But I've noticed that, like, I'm so proud that there is just murals everywhere in Baltimore. It just like pops up everywhere. So I don't know that I can tell you a specific location, but I dream of a day where like you can't see a vertical space that is not a painted mural in Baltimore City. So literally everywhere that is currently blank, I think would be great with an added mural.
That's tight. There's one interview that I did recently with Katie Chung, Chicago-based artist, and one of the tallest buildings in Chicago. She did a mural around like one of the highest levels, and she was like, "Oh, you'll be able to see that for everywhere." And it's one of those like open air setups, so it's really really cool. And that's how I became aware of her work when I was just up in Chicago, and it was like a little plaque about the work that she was doing, and being able to do that interview. And it definitely pops amidst all of the great architecture, but mostly gray. So having that color in a very high spot is really great. And so Mac, this is the last one. What do you have in mind of a space that you would love to see some art, a mural at? Get rid of the gray that we see everywhere.
I mean, I definitely am the perpetuator of that gray. My entire building is nothing but gray. So selfishly, I'll say the interior of the Baltimore Convention Center. I think in the last year we've done a really, really good job of activating the outside. But now it's time to jazz it up inside.
Hey, we're ready.
We
We're
bookended
ready.
that. That's good.
Interiors are so much easier and better to paint. We're ready anytime.
I love it. See, you're all off the hot seat. It's a little questionable. I was like, all right, what are we going to do here? But we got it. We got the rapid fire questions done. So thank you all. And what I want to do in these final moments is two things. One, I want to thank you all for coming on and spending some time with me in this busy schedule. So it's a lot that's happening. So thank you again. And two, I want to invite and encourage you all to shameless plugs. I mean, it's just give us those last details, sort of not even the soft pitch. It's just the hard sell. I mean, I do the hard sell all the time. Please come on my podcast, but have folks, come out. So please share the details, social media, website, all of that good stuff to check out the celebration and BRUSH overall.
Well, I think we should start by thanking our presenting sponsors. So the Convention Center is obviously our partner in this in many ways, but also presenting sponsor, as well as the Deutsch Foundation, who is actually paying all of our artists. So we love them for that, and we're very excited to be supported by such a great foundation. You can follow I guess I'll do brush stuff. You can follow Brush at BRUSH Mural Fest on Instagram. Our website is also just BRUSH Mural Fest. And you can email us if you have any questions. If you want to apply, you can email us at hello@brushmuralfest.com. Little disclaimer, we only accept Baltimore artists. So if you don't live and work in Baltimore City, our answer is going to be no, but we love you.
And come join us on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The celebration is outdoors on Sharp Street at the intersection of Sharp and Pratt. It is a rain or shine event, but we don't talk about rain, so it's going to be beautiful and sunny, but just have a rain jacket with you just in case. And then we also have all these other events going on this week. Tonight, we have a panel discussion at Nomu Nomu that's going to be really wonderful, 6 to 8 p.m. On the topic of creating in the public realm. Please come to that. Tomorrow, a workshop at Night Owl Gallery, followed by happy hour at Royal Blue. Topo Chico is sponsoring this happy hour. That means free drinks if you get there in time, which is 8 p.m. The workshop is 6 to 8, happy hour 8 to 10. Thursday, Community Paint Day in the Bromo Arts District. This is one of our most fun events. We had one last year. It was a huge hit, such a huge hit that we're having 3 of them this year. We had one already prior to Brush Week back in August. We have one this Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. at 303 North Howard Street. We have a wonderful Baltimore artist, Mara Dwyer, who's come up with a super cool design that she will have already outlined on the wall. And then anyone and everyone, regardless of painting experience, is welcome to join us in helping paint this mural that will stay up for hopefully many years. So it's super cool that you get to have a part in painting a mural with your community. And then Friday we have another workshop at Night Owl Gallery from 4 to 5 p.m. Saturday is the big day. And then actually this year we also have one other event right after on Sunday. We're doing a free wellness workshop, which this was the idea for it came about when we realized that painting murals is a very physically challenging job that most people don't think about. And so whenever we work on these projects, anywhere from 2 to 6 to 7 weeks, by the end of it, we are exhausted and in so much pain. And I feel like we don't do a good enough job of taking care of our bodies. And so we have partnered with a couple lovely movement practitioners from Baltimore City who are going to come and lead a really cool wellness workshop for muralists and anybody else who would like to join. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Fitzgerald on Sunday, the 15th. Imagine things like some yoga movements, some breath work, that kind of cool stuff to learn how to give your body some rest and relief after a week of all these exciting events. And all of that can be found on our website, brushmuralfest.com/events.
And then can I steal 2 seconds?
Yeah, please.
To say, in addition to all of the cool music and live art and admiring the finished murals, we'll also have some food trucks and stuff out here on Saturday. So feel free to come by with your appetite. Hopefully, as long as nothing goes crazy, we'll have some very recognizable brands out that people will be excited about. Secondarily, people don't think to follow the convention center, because why would I follow the convention center? But please check out our website, but more importantly, check out our Instagram page. We hired 2 post-master's degrees fellows to help curate a social media plan for us and a plan to memorialize all of the work that these artists did. So we've got a lot of content in addition to everything that Saba and Jaz have been pumping out the last week. So please follow the Baltimore Convention Center on Instagram and follow me on Instagram at Exec Direct BCC. Otherwise, that way you can also learn a little bit more about what we do 365 days a year, driving economic impact for the region.
And there you have it, folks. I want to again thank the founders of BRUSH, Jaz Ehrenberg and Saba Hamidi, as well as the executive director of the Baltimore Convention Center, Mac Campbell, for coming on and telling us about BRUSH and that partnership. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art, culture, and community in and around your neck of the woods. You've just got to look for it.